Welcome back. All right, by request, let us discuss the career of Ilya Kovalchuk. Now, I'm just focusing mainly on the National Hockey League portion of his career. He did have an extensive career outside of the National Hockey League, but we'll just focus on the NHL side of it. He was a number one draft pick in 2001. Lots of hype. Drafted by the Atlanta Thrashers. So this video gives me a chance to wear an Atlanta Thrashers jersey. I would have the matching hat. I don't know where my Atlanta hat is. It's the only team I've got like one hat. That's just one. It's somewhere around here, but I'm wearing a New Jersey hat because he did end up in New Jersey, so I figure that works, right? Anyways, so 2001, 2002 with a lot of hype around him. 65 games, 29 goals, 22 assists, 51 points. He was second in Calder voting that year. So he lives up to expectations. Pretty darn good season. Then 02-03, 81 games, 38 goals. That's 7th overall in the NHL. We're in the dead puck era when he came in. 29 assists for 67 points. On an Atlanta team that's having some struggles putting together a competitive roster. 2003, 2004, 81 games, 41 goals. That's first overall in the NHL that year, so Rocket Richard Trophy. 46 assists. His 87 points were second overall in the National Hockey League. He's 10th in Hart voting, plays in the All-Star game, and he's a second-team All-Star as well. So he has arrived, and the NHL shut things down for a year. 2004, 2005, lockout, gone, nothing, done. 2005, 2006, the NHL returns, and goal scoring is really expanded upon, and Kovalchuk jumps on that. 78 games, 52 goals, so his first 50-goal season. That was third overall in the NHL. 46 assists, has 98 points. That's 8th overall in the National Hockey League. Not too shabby. 2006, 2007 is a key year. This is where Atlanta makes the playoffs for the one and only time that the Atlanta Thrashers did. 82 games, 42 goals. That's 8th overall. 34 assists, 76 points in the playoffs. 4 games played by Kovalchuk, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. They get swept in the first round by the New York Rangers, and they wouldn't get back to the playoffs again. It's not long after this that the conversation starts to come out about, hey, so this Kovalchuk guy's a fantastic goal scorer. What would happen if he played on a good team? And there were some good star players there, but they start leaving, and eventually, Kovalchuk's there with them. However, 07-08, he has a pretty good year. 79 games, 52 goals. So his second 50-goal season, that's second overall in the NHL. 35 assists, 87 points. That's 10th in the overall numbers. He plays in the All-Star game that year. 2008-2009, plays 79 games again. 43 goals, that's 4th in the NHL. 48 assists, 91 points. That's 6th overall in the NHL. He plays in the All-Star game again. But we're looking at a team in Atlanta that's not making the playoffs. And this is where when people say, well, Atlanta never supported that team, they weren't run well. Their ownership was a disaster. And there's definitely a correlation between teams that are run poorly and eroding fan support and eroding profits. This is a team that was run badly, and I think Kovalchuk knew that. So 2009-2010, 49 games, 31 goals, 27 assists, 58 points with Atlanta. But there was a lot of rumblings about where he might go and what might happen. And February the 4th, he is traded to the New Jersey Devils in a massive trade. He's traded with a 2010 second-round pick that becomes John Merrill. So you can make quite the trade tree from this video. Salmela goes with him as well. And going the other way, a 2010 first-round pick that became Kevin Hayes. A 2010 second-round pick that became Justin Hall. Bergfors, and I wanted Nicholas Bergfors to make it at the NHL level. I did. Cormier and Oduya. So, which sounds like a challenge. Oduya? Really? Oduya. Sure. That's what I always thought when I heard his name anyways. So, going to New Jersey seemed to help him settle down a little bit. Although his goal scoring wasn't fantastic upon arriving with a new location, but he's still a point-per-game player. 27 games in New Jersey, 10 goals. So combined, 41 goals. That's 5th overall in the NHL that year. 17 assists, 27 points. And in the playoffs, 5 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. And then it happened. July of 2010, he signs an extension with New Jersey, which is ridiculous. It is a 17-year contract worth $102 million. The NHL looks at that and goes, that's some good old cap circumvention we have going on there. So the Devils would get penalized for that contract. And the contract to get brought down, the Devils would sacrifice a first-round pick. They do get it back, but when that contract was signed, just think about it. He would still be on the books for New Jersey right now with that 17-year contract. So that first year with that brand new contract, he does not play at his normal level. 81 games, 31 goals, 29 assists, 60 points. Lots of criticism towards Kovalchuk for that season. And not unfounded. I mean, a guy signs a 17-year deal, and it's like, oh, I can just take it easy. I have 17 years. I might as well. That's how it felt, right? I'm just gonna coast through. I don't think he was, but yeah, first full season in New Jersey was tough. The second full season in New Jersey actually is better. 77 games played, 37 goals. That's 6th overall in the NHL. His scoring's coming down again. 46 assists, 83 points. That's 5th overall in the NHL. Pretty good year. He's a first-team All-Star. He's 10th in Hart voting. And more importantly, the New Jersey Devils went on a run. They go all the way to the Stanley Cup final. He's a big part of the reason why. 23 games, 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 points for Kovalchuk. So he has a really good playoff run. So do the Devils. So people feel pretty good. 2012-2013, 37 games played, 11 goals, 20 assists, 31 points. He's back to being mediocre. He's back to not putting the puck in the net. The criticisms are all back. And Kovalchuk decides, all right, July the 11th of 2013, he retires. So nobody saw that coming. In fact, I have an annual, a yearbook, which shows Kovalchuk's numbers, and then it just has across it in red ink, retired as of July 13th. Because they'd already started production of the yearbooks, and so with Kovalchuk, like, well, we can't just rip him out of there, so he retires. Now, he ends up playing overseas, and he's not done playing hockey. He's just, I'm done with the National Hockey League. But he starts to get on the NHL's radar again when he plays at the Olympics in 2018. We'll talk about his success at the Olympics there. And eventually, a team says, hey, we can bring him back. He's a goal scorer. So the LA Kings, July the 1st of 2018, signed Kovalchuk. 64 games played in LA, 16 goals, 18 assists, 34 points. What was interesting to me with Kovalchuk was that when he came back, he clearly was not the same player he had been before. But there were fans of his from back in this era that were convinced that any drop in his production wasn't really his fault, and he's still a great elite player. And I'm not calling anybody out for that. It's interesting to me how people will look at a player and just see that star player from years prior. And he wasn't that player anymore. So 2019-2020, a tough start to what's going to be a long season for the National Hockey League. 17 games, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points. He's not producing. So on December 16th, the LA Kings release him. So he plays the 64 games that first year, gets 34 points. The second year, 17 games, just the 9 points, and he's released. So then all the speculation becomes, where's he going to sign? January the 3rd, the Montreal Canadiens jump up, and they sign him. And initially, he looks good. His stats with Montreal, 22 games, 6 goals, 7 assists, 13 points. And then Montreal makes a brilliant decision here. February 4th, he's traded. So he's traded at the trade deadline, or near the trade deadline, for a 2020 third-round draft pick to the Washington Capitals. So the Capitals looking at this and thinking, well, we've got Ovechkin, we had Kovalchuk, who knows? We already got Kuznetsov. And the thinking on this wasn't really all that crazy, in my opinion. So he gets to Washington, plays 7 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. Not the same player that he'd been. The NHL goes into the pause in March. He did play in the playoffs after that. He plays 8 games, has just the 1 assist in the 8 games because he's not the Ilya Kovalchuk of, say, 03-04, almost 20 years later, so can't be expected to be the same player you were almost 20 years before. And that ends up being his final games as a National Hockey League player. 926 games in the NHL, is 443 goals, is 70th overall, 433 assists, 876 points in the playoffs, 40 games, 11 goals, 17 assists for 28 points. So Kovalchuk, very strong overall numbers. He had Olympic gold in 2018, and he had bronze at the Olympics in 2002. At the Worlds, he had gold in 2008 and 2009. He has silver in 2010 and 2015. This is where he's able to get into the Worlds, too, because Atlanta's never in the playoffs, and if they're in the playoffs, they're only there for 4 games because they only got there once. So he has plenty of time to go over and play in the World Championships. He had bronze at the Worlds in 2005, 2007, and 2019. I guess the big questions with Kovalchuk would be if he had played for a different team other than Atlanta. If he played for a team that had, you know, some really good teams and went on some runs in the playoffs, would he have stayed around a lot longer? Would he have had a lot more goals? Would we be talking about how he's a first ballot Hall of Famer? And then there's that question of where does he stand in the overall grand scheme of things? You have two very different careers here. You have where he's older and he's coming back as a comeback. And then prior to that, and even there, you have a couple of seasons in New Jersey where his numbers aren't necessarily fantastic. So if you ask me the question, does Kovalchuk get into the Hall of Fame? My answer to that would be I would not put him in the Hall before Alex McGinley. But that's me, personally. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. And let me know your thoughts about the career of Ilya Kovalchuk. And what did you think about the 17-year-long contract he signed before the NHL said, pardon? And then it was still a really long contract anyways. Yeah, New Jersey penalized, but again, that penalty went away after he retired in 2013. So let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.